Can you make her eat again, please?
Can you make her eat again? The cowboy begged, and the obese widow did what no one else could. The Saturday market smelled like fresh bread and judgment. Ruby stood behind her wooden table arranging pies nobody would buy. Around her, vendors shouted prices and customers haggled over preserves. Her corner stayed quiet. People glanced at her goods, then at her body, then walked away. Rent was due in 2 days. She needed $3 more. She'd been widowed 8 months. Her husband died in a farming accident. Her baby came too early and left too soon. Now she baked and sold what she could and tried to survive in a town that looked through her like she was made of smoke. Movement caught her eye. A man and a small girl weaving through the crowd. The girl was maybe 4, thin as a winter branch, her hand limp in her father's grip. He stopped at every food stall, crouching beside her, offering things with quiet desperation. Ruby watched them try the honey vendor. The girl stared at the honeycomb without seeing it. They moved to the apple seller. Same gentle coaxing. Same empty response. Then the baker. Then the dried fruit woman. Each time, the father kneeling, speaking softly, the girl looking through him like he wasn't there. 2 women near Ruby were watching too. "That's Tom Hayes," one whispered, not quietly enough. "Wife died 2 months back. That little girl hasn't eaten or spoken since." "He brings her here every week," the other said, hoping something will work. Nothing does. Ruby's chest tightened. She knew that kind of grief. Tom was closer now. She could see the exhaustion carved into his face, the wrinkled shirt, the way his shoulders curved inward protecting something already broken. His daughter wore a dress that hung too loose. Her eyes were somewhere far away. They stopped at the stall beside Ruby's. Tom tried candied nuts. The girl didn't even look. Behind Ruby, familiar voices cut through the noise. "Still trying to sell food," one of the Miller sisters said, loud enough to carry. "Built like that and selling pastries. Maybe if she ate less of her inventory, she'd have more to sell." Ruby kept her hands steady, kept her face blank. Tom and his daughter moved to Ruby's table. "Miss," Tom said, voice rough, "do you have anything simple? Something a child might want?" Ruby looked at the girl. Really looked. The child's eyes were fixed on nothing, her breathing shallow. "Here but not here." Ruby reached under her table for the small cloth bundle. Inside were butter cookies shaped like stars. She'd made them that morning when her hands needed work and her mind needed quiet. She knelt down level with the girl. "Hello," Ruby said softly. "My name's Ruby. What's yours?" "Nothing." Ruby held out a star cookie. "I made this morning. Would you like to hold it?" The girl's eyes flickered toward Ruby's face. Ruby broke off a piece smaller than her thumbnail. "Just this little bit. Just to see if you like it." She held it near the girl's mouth. Didn't push. Just waited. The seconds stretched. Then the girl's lips parted. Ruby placed the tiny piece inside. The girl chewed once, twice, and swallowed. Tom made a sound like he'd been struck. His eyes filled with tears. The Miller sisters had circled closer. "Oh, you're asking her?" the elder one said. "Tom Hayes, are you that desperate? Look at her. You think she knows anything about portion control? She'll eat half before your girl gets any." Ruby felt shame crawl up her neck. Tom straightened slowly, turned to face them. "That woman just got my daughter to eat for the first time in 3 weeks." His voice was quiet, cold. "You've watched us walk past your stalls every Saturday for a month. Not one of you tried to help." The women's smiles faltered. "So, unless you have something useful to offer, mind your own business." He turned back to Ruby. The market had gone quiet. Tom crouched beside Ruby. "Can you make her eat again? Please." "I've tried everything. Doctors, remedies, prayers. Nothing works. But you," she responded to you. Ruby looked at the small girl who'd just taken one bite. "I can try," Ruby said quietly. That's more than anyone else has offered. Tom pulled out coins. I'll buy everything here. And if you come to my ranch tomorrow, I'll pay you for your time. Ruby's hands trembled. That's not necessary. It is to me. He pressed coins into her palm. More than her goods were worth. My ranch is an hour north. Past the old mill. Big oak at the gate. Can you come tomorrow morning? Ruby looked at the girl. At Tom's desperate face. At the coins that meant rent paid and food for weeks. Tomorrow morning. Tom's relief was visible. Thank you. He gathered Ruby's goods while his daughter stood beside Ruby, watching her. Her name's Sarah, Tom said. She's 4. Used to talk nonstop. Used to laugh. Used to eat. Now she's quiet all the time and I don't know how to bring her back. Sarah's small hand reached toward the cloth with the cookies. Ruby offered another star. Sarah took it, held it carefully in both hands. Tomorrow, Tom said. Please. I'll be there. Tom took Sarah's hand gently. They walked away through the crowd. Sarah looked back once. Her eyes found Ruby's. Something passed between them. Recognition or hope or just the quiet understanding of two people who knew what it meant to be lost. Ruby stood behind her empty table as the sun slanted lower. The Miller sisters were whispering, pointing, judging. Ruby didn't care. She had rent money in her pocket and tomorrow she'd ride north to help a little girl eat again. And maybe that would be enough. Ruby arrived at Tom's ranch as morning mist was lifting from the fields. The oak tree at the gate was massive, branches spreading wide enough to shade half the entrance. Beyond it, a dirt road led to a house that looked solid but tired. Good bones. Neglected details. Tom was waiting on the porch, Sarah beside him. He helped Ruby down from the wagon she'd borrowed from her neighbor. His hands were calloused, gentle. Thank you for coming, he said. Sarah watched Ruby with those same quiet eyes from yesterday. The house inside was clean but empty feeling. Dishes washed but stacked unevenly. Floors swept but dust gathering in corners. Everything maintained just enough to function, nothing more. Tom showed Ruby to the kitchen. I don't know what she'll eat, he said, gesturing helplessly at the pantry. She used to love eggs. Wouldn't touch them now. Used to eat porridge every morning. Spits it out now. Ruby looked at Sarah standing in the doorway. The girl's hand was pressed against the doorframe like she needed something solid to hold onto. What did her mother make? Ruby asked quietly. Tom's face went tight. Pancakes. Every Sunday. Sarah would help her stir the batter. Show me where things are. For the next hour, Ruby worked while Tom watched. She made simple things. Soft bread. Butter she'd brought from town. Honey in a small bowl. She didn't call Sarah over. Didn't demand attention. Just cooked and hummed quietly. Sarah drifted closer. Slowly. Like approaching a skittish animal. By the time Ruby had everything ready, Sarah was standing right beside the table. Ruby sat down. Tore off a small piece of bread. Dipped it in honey. Ate it herself. Good honey, she said to no one in particular. Sweet but not too sweet. She tore another piece. Set it on a plate in front of the empty chair beside her. Waited. Sarah's eyes moved from the bread to Ruby's face. Back to the bread. You can sit if you want, Ruby said softly. Or stand. Thither's fine. Sarah sat. Ruby continued eating her own bread. Didn't watch Sarah. Didn't pressure. 3 minutes passed in silence. Then Sarah's small hand reached out. Took the bread. Brought it to her mouth. One bite. Tom, standing frozen in the kitchen doorway, made a choked sound. Sarah took another bite. Ruby kept eating her own food. Kept humming. Kept the moment normal instead of momentous. When Sarah had finished the piece of bread, Ruby tore another. Set it on the plate. Sarah ate that too. After Sarah had eaten 3 pieces, more than she'd eaten in weeks, Tom said later, she pushed back from the table. Walked to the corner of the room where a worn shawl was draped over a chair. She picked it up. Held it against her face. That was her mama's, Tom said quietly. She carries it everywhere. Ruby nodded. Said nothing. Sarah stood there holding the shawl, and Ruby could see it clearly now. The grief sitting on this child's shoulders like a physical weight. The way she moved carefully, like any sudden motion might shatter what was left of her world. Ruby knew that feeling. Sarah, Ruby said gently. The girl looked up. Your mama loved you very much. Sarah's eyes welled up. And eating doesn't mean you're forgetting her. It just means you're letting her love keep taking care of you. A single tear ran down Sarah's cheek. Then another. Then she was crying, deep, wrenching sobs that sounded like they'd been trapped inside for months. Tom moved to go to her, but Ruby shook her head slightly. Stood instead. Crossed to Sarah. Knelt down. It's okay to miss her, Ruby whispered. It's okay to be sad. Sarah collapsed against Ruby's shoulder. Cried into her dress. Ruby wrapped her arms around this small, broken girl and held her while she sobbed. Tom watched from across the room, his own face wet. When Sarah finally quieted, she didn't pull away. Just stayed pressed against Ruby, breathing in shaky gasps. I miss Mama, Sarah whispered. The first words Tom had heard her speak in 2 months. I know, sweetheart, Ruby said. I know you do. That afternoon, Sarah ate half a bowl of soup. That evening, she ate bread and butter while sitting next to Ruby. She didn't talk much, didn't smile, but she was present, trying. As darkness fell, Tom walked Ruby out to her wagon. Will you come back? He asked. Tomorrow. Ruby looked back at the house. Through the window, she could see Sarah sitting at the table, still holding her mother's shawl. Yes, Ruby said. I'll come back. Tom's relief was palpable. I can pay you daily. Or weekly. Whatever you need. Let's just see how she does. He helped her into the wagon. His hand lingered on her arm for just a moment. She spoke today, he said, voice rough. Because of you. She spoke because she was ready. No. Tom looked at her directly. She spoke because you made her feel safe enough to feel again. Ruby didn't know what to say to that. She drove home through the twilight, Tom's words echoing in her mind. Tomorrow she'd go back. And the day after. For as long as Sarah needed her. Days became a rhythm. Ruby arrived each morning. Made simple food. Sat with Sarah. Never pushed. Never demanded. Just created space where a grieving child could exist without pressure. Sarah ate more each day. Not much. But enough. On the 4th day, Sarah spoke again. You smell like bread, she said quietly while Ruby was kneading dough. Ruby smiled. I bake a lot. The smell probably lives in my clothes now. Mama smelled like lavender. That's a lovely smell. Sarah was quiet for a moment. I don't remember it anymore. I try but I can't. Ruby's hand stilled on the dough. That happens sometimes. Our noses forget faster than our hearts. Will I forget everything about her? No, sweetheart. The important things stay. The way she loved you. The way she made you feel safe. Those don't disappear. Sarah considered this. Do you remember your mama? Some things. She died when I was young. I remember her hands mostly. How gentle they were when she braided my hair. My mama braided my hair too. Would you like me to braid yours? Sarah nodded. That afternoon, Ruby braided Sarah's hair while the girls sat perfectly still. When Ruby finished, Sarah ran to look in the small mirror by the wash basin. She touched the braids carefully. They're pretty. Your mama taught you they were pretty. I'm just helping you remember. On the 7th day, Sarah asked to help bake. Ruby gave her simple tasks. Stirring batter. Sprinkling flour. Sarah's small hands moved carefully, precisely, like the work mattered. Mama let me help sometimes, Sarah said. I wasn't very good. You're doing fine now. I spilled things. Made messes. All bakers make messes. That's how you learn. When the cookies came out of the oven, Sarah ate too without being asked. Tom watched from the doorway, hardly breathing, like witnessing a miracle he was afraid would shatter if he moved. That evening, after Sarah had gone to bed, Tom found Ruby cleaning the kitchen. "Stay longer," he said. Ruby looked up from the dishes. "Not just days," Tom continued. "However long it takes. I'll give you the spare room. Pay you proper wages. Whatever you need. Tom, she's healing because of you." His voice was urgent, desperate. Every day she's more herself. Every day she eats more, talks more, lives more. "I can't," he stopped, swallowed hard. "I can't lose that progress. I can't lose her again." Ruby dried her hands slowly. "What will people say? An unmarried woman living on your ranch." "I don't care. The town will talk. Let them." Tom stepped closer. "My wife died because this town decided I wasn't worth helping. They watched her labor for hours and refused to send the midwife because I'd offended the preacher. Their opinions cost me everything once already. I won't let them cost me my daughter too." Ruby looked at him. Really looked. Saw the desperation there. The fear. The fierce protectiveness of a father who'd already lost too much. "1 month," she said finally. "I'll stay 1 month. See how she does." Tom's exhale was shaky. "Thank you." But the town was already talking. Ruby heard it the next Sunday when she went to buy supplies. Women whispering behind hands. Men exchanging knowing looks. "Moved right in with him, I heard. Shameless. Using that poor child to sink her hooks in." Ruby kept her head down. Bought what she needed. Left quickly. That afternoon, while Sarah napped, Tom found Ruby in the garden pulling weeds. "They're saying things in town," she said without looking up. "I know. About us. About why I'm here." Tom knelt beside her. Started pulling weeds too. "Do you care what they say?" Ruby's hands stilled in the dirt. "I've spent my whole life caring what people say. What people think. It never made them kinder. Then stop caring. It's not that simple. Isn't it?" Tom looked at her. "You're here doing good work. Helping my daughter heal. Helping me keep this ranch running. Anyone who sees sin in that says more about them than you." Ruby wanted to believe him. But she heard the whispers. Saw the looks when she went to town. And she knew how these things went. The town would keep talking. Keep judging. Eventually, they'd force Tom to choose. And when that happened, Ruby knew exactly how it would end. She'd be the one to leave. She always was. That night, Sarah asked Ruby to tuck her in. "Will you be here tomorrow?" Sarah asked, her small voice uncertain. "Yes, sweetheart." "And the day after?" "Yes." "Promise." Ruby looked at this child who was finally learning to hope again. Who was finally eating, talking, living. "I promise," Ruby said. And meant it. Even though she knew promises made by women like her were always temporary. Even though she knew the town was already deciding her fate. Even though she knew this couldn't last. She promised anyway. Because Sarah needed the promise. And Ruby needed to believe, just for a moment, that she was the kind of person whose promises could be kept. 3 weeks had passed since Ruby came to the ranch. Sarah was eating full meals now. Laughing sometimes. Playing with the barn cats. She still carried her mother's shawl everywhere, still had quiet days where grief pulled her under, but she was healing. The ranch was healing too. Garden producing vegetables. Chickens laying. Fences mended. The house felt lived in again instead of haunted. Tom had started smiling. That's when the church ladies came. Ruby was in the garden when she heard the wagon. 3 women climbed down, dressed in their Sunday best on a Thursday afternoon. Mrs. Patterson, the preacher's wife. Mrs. Henderson, who owned the boarding house in town. And Mrs. Miller, whose daughters had mocked Ruby at the market. Tom was out checking fence lines in the north pasture. Ruby was alone. "Miss Ruby," Mrs. Patterson called out, her voice sweet as poison. "We need to speak with you." Ruby stood slowly, brushing dirt from her dress. The women approached. Circled like predators. "The whole town is talking," Mrs. Henderson said. "An unmarried woman living alone with a man. It's improper. I have my own room, Ruby said quietly. I'm here to help with his daughter. That doesn't matter. Mrs. Patterson stepped closer. Appearances matter, and this appears sinful. I'm caring for a grieving child. You're living in sin. Mrs. Miller's voice was sharp, corrupting that poor girl with your presence, teaching her that shameful behavior is acceptable. Ruby's hands clenched. I've done nothing shameful. Haven't you? Mrs. Henderson smiled. You moved into a man's home. You cook his meals, clean his house, share his life. What else would we call that? Employment. We call it something else entirely. Mrs. Patterson looked her up and down. Though I suppose a woman like you takes what she can get. The words hit like a physical blow. We're taking you back to town, Mrs. Henderson said firmly. Today. For everyone's good. Before you damage that child any further. I'm not going anywhere. You don't have a choice. A small voice came from the porch. Yes, she does. Sarah stood in the doorway, still holding her mother's shawl. Her face was pale but her voice was steady. Sarah dear, Mrs. Patterson's voice went syrupy. Go inside. This is adult business. You're being mean to Miss Ruby. Sarah's words were clear. Certain. She helps me. She makes me feel better. Why are you being mean about that? Mrs. Miller turned to her. Sweet child, you don't understand. This woman is... She made me eat again, Sarah interrupted. Her voice grew stronger. She made me want to wake up again. Before she came, I wanted to disappear. I wanted to be with Mama. But Miss Ruby taught me it's okay to be sad and okay to be alive at the same time. The women stared. So you're being mean, Sarah continued. And it's not fair. And Papa wouldn't like it. Mrs. Patterson's face hardened. Your father isn't here. And when we tell him what we think of this arrangement, he'll see reason. Tell me what? Tom stood at the edge of the garden. Ruby hadn't heard him approach. His face was calm but his eyes were ice. Mr. Hayes. Mrs. Patterson turned to him. We're here because... I heard why you're here. Tom's voice was quiet. Dangerous. You came to my ranch. Insulted a woman I've employed. Upset my daughter. And you think you have standing to tell me how to run my household. The town watched my wife die. Tom's words cut through. Watched her beg for help while she bled out because you all decided I wasn't worth your mercy. So forgive me if I don't give a damn what the town thinks about who helps me raise my daughter. This is different, Mrs. Henderson tried. This is about morality. Morality. Tom laughed, bitter. You let a woman die to punish her husband. Don't talk to me about morality. He moved to stand beside Ruby. Put himself between her and the women. You need to leave my property, he said. Now. Mrs. Patterson drew herself up. If she stays, we'll make sure everyone knows. The church will. The church can do whatever it wants. Miss Ruby stays. The women left in a storm of indignation. But Ruby heard what they said as they climbed into their wagon. She won't last. He'll see reason eventually. She can't stay forever. That night, after Sarah was asleep, Ruby sat on the porch steps. Tom found her there. They'll come back, Ruby said quietly. Or they'll send others. The talk will get worse. I don't care. Sarah will hear it. At church. In town. People will say cruel things about me. About us. She'll hear. Tom sat beside her. She's stronger than you think. She's 4 years old. Ruby's voice broke. She's just starting to heal. And when the town's cruelty gets loud enough, when she overhears what they really think of me, it'll hurt her. She'll think she's done something wrong by caring about me. Then we'll teach her that other people's cruelty says nothing about her. Ruby shook her head. You don't understand. I've lived this before. The whispers. The judgment. It always ends the same way. They'll force you to choose. The ranch. Your reputation. Your daughter's future. Or me. I choose you. You can't. I already did. Ruby looked at him. At this man who'd defended her. Who'd seen her as capable instead of cursed. I need to go, she whispered. Before it gets worse. Before Sarah gets more attached. Before they force your hand and the separation destroys her. Ruby. I'll leave tomorrow. Quietly. It'll be easier on her if I just disappear. She'll think you abandoned her. Better than watching the town drive me away. Better than seeing them humiliate me in front of her. I can't, Ruby's voice cracked. I can't let her see me broken like that. She stood. Walked inside before Tom could argue. That night, she packed her small bag. At dawn, before Sarah woke, Ruby slipped out of the house. Walked down the dirt road past the big oak tree. Didn't look back. Behind her, the ranch settled into morning quiet. Inside, Sarah would wake soon. Would call for Ruby. Would find her gone. And Ruby, walking through the mist toward town, told herself she'd done the right thing. Told herself leaving was protecting Sarah. Told herself this was mercy. Even as her heart broke with every step. Sarah found Ruby's empty room at sunrise. She stood in the doorway holding her mother's shawl, staring at the made bed. The empty dresser. No shoes. No brush. Gone. Tom found his daughter there 10 minutes later, silent and still. Sarah? She didn't move. Just stared at that empty room. Tom's stomach dropped. He ran through the house. Kitchen, barn, garden. Ruby's borrowed wagon was gone. When he came back, Sarah had sunk to the floor, arms wrapped around her knees, face pressed into the shawl. Not crying. Not speaking. Just gone somewhere inside herself. Sarah, sweetheart? She didn't respond. Didn't even blink. Tom recognized this. The same shutdown from before Ruby came. The same absence. His daughter was here but not here, retreating into the place where grief lived. He tried to reach for her. She didn't flinch away. Didn't react at all. Just sat there like a small stone. That day, Sarah didn't eat. Didn't refuse. Just didn't respond when food was offered. The next day was the same. She moved through the house like a ghost, clutching the shawl, eyes distant. By the third day, Tom was watching his daughter disappear again. She wasn't throwing tantrums. Wasn't demanding anything. She'd simply gone back to that quiet place where nothing mattered because everyone left anyway. Tom knelt beside her that afternoon. Sarah, baby please. Just look at me. Sarah's eyes moved toward him. I miss Miss Ruby, she whispered. Not angry. Just stating a fact. I know, sweetheart. Everyone goes away. Her voice was flat. Accepting. Mama went away. Now Miss Ruby went away. That's just what happens. Tom's heart cracked. This was a child learning that love meant loss. Learning to stop hoping. He found Ruby that afternoon in town, sitting in the church vestibule. 2 days of walking. 1 night in a barn. Nowhere else to go. You left, Tom said from the doorway. Ruby looked up. Her eyes were red. I had to. Sarah's gone again. Back to where she was before you came. Ruby's face crumpled. No. I left so she wouldn't get hurt when the town forced me out. You don't understand. Tom crossed to her. She's not hurt. She's resigned. She's learning that people leave. That love doesn't last. You were teaching her to hope again and then you proved hope was dangerous. The town was going to destroy you. Destroy her reputation. I was protecting her. From what? From having someone who stays. Tom's voice broke. She's not angry, Ruby. She's just accepting. Like she's decided this is how the world works. Ruby pressed her hands over her face. I need you to come back, Tom said quietly. Not because I'm desperate. Not because I can't manage alone. Because I'm in love with you and my daughter loves you and we want you to stay. Ruby looked up. You love me. I've loved you for weeks. Watched you be patient with Sarah. Watched you fix my ranch with your capable hands. Watched you be kind when the world was cruel. He knelt in front of her. I didn't ask you to come back because Sarah stopped eating. I came because I can't imagine my life without you in it. Tom, you're not just necessary. You're wanted. You're loved by both of us. He took her hands. Come home. Not as hired help. As family. Ruby's tears spilled over. What if I can't fix what I broke? We'll fix it together. They rode back in silence, Tom's hand covering hers. When they reached the ranch, Sarah was sitting on her bed, holding the shawl, staring at nothing. Ruby stood in the doorway. Sarah? The girl's eyes moved toward her, blinked slowly. Ruby crossed the room, knelt beside the bed. I'm sorry I left. I was scared and I made a mistake. A big one. Her voice was steady despite the tears. I'm here now. And I'm staying. Not because I have to. Because I want to. Because I love you. Sarah stared at her for a long moment. You came back. I did. People don't come back. This one does. Ruby opened her arms. Sarah hesitated, then collapsed into them, sobbing. Deep, wrenching cries that had been trapped inside for 3 days. Ruby held her, rocked her, let her feel everything. Tom stood in the doorway watching his world piece itself back together. When Sarah finally quieted, she pulled back just enough to look at Ruby's face. Are you staying forever now? Forever. Promise. I promise. And I won't break it this time. Sarah nodded slowly, processing, deciding whether to believe. Then she reached for Ruby's hand. I'm hungry. That evening, Tom found Ruby on the porch after Sarah had fallen asleep. Marry me, he said. Ruby turned. What? Marry me. Tomorrow if you'll have me. He took her hands. Not so the town stops talking. Not to make you respectable. But because I love you and I want you to be my wife. Because Sarah needs a mother and you need a family and I need you. Ruby looked at this man who'd defended her. Who'd come after her. Who loved her. Yes, she whispered. They married 4 days later in the same church. The town came to watch and judge. When the preacher pronounced them husband and wife, Tom kissed Ruby in front of everyone. As they walked down the aisle with Sarah between them, whispers started. Forced marriage. She trapped him. Using that child. Tom stopped. Turned to face them. My wife saved my daughter's life. She saved me when I'd given up. Anyone with something to say about that can say it to my face. Otherwise, keep it to yourselves. He took Ruby's hand. Sarah's hand in his other. They walked out together into sunlight. 6 months later, Sarah was thriving, eating, playing, laughing. She still missed her mother. Still carried the shawl sometimes. But she'd learned that grief and love could live together. Ruby's belly was round with new life. And on Sunday mornings, the 3 of them made pancakes together. I have 2 mamas now, Sarah said one morning, matter of fact. One in heaven and one here. Tom smiled. That's right, baby. I'm very lucky. Ruby kissed the top of her head. We all are. Outside, the ranch thrived. Inside, a family made from broken pieces had learned to be whole. Together,